Ladies and gents, this is ML's Like Teen Spirit. Today I got Barbara with me. Hey Barbara, how you doing?
Hey John, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Hey Barbara, this is the first time you've been with me. You're going to have to introduce yourself. So can you tell everyone for about 60 seconds, like where you're from, what you're doing, where you are, and your whole life story up to this point, please?
Oh, already started with a loaded question. But name is Barbara. I'm originally from Brazil. I'm currently based in Amsterdam. I started my career in journalism before moving into like innovation consultancy. And I started working for startups when I moved to London, where I did my master's there. Had to learn a lot of data with brute force because I didn't have a marketing background yet. I had to grow these startups. And over the last 6 or 7 years, I've been working as a marketing data consultant, where I help companies with measurement problems, make better decisions with data, improve campaigns with data, and then I also run Fix My Tracking, which is a service for helping companies fix their conversion tracking, and the Attribution Masterclass, where I teach marketers and data analysts about marketing attribution.
You're kind of part of a series of marketing experts I wanted to get because I wanted to do a few more things about attribution, measurement, and some of these things. So your work caught my eye when I read a piece of your output. And this article was called "All Marketing Data Are Estimates," and I was excited by this because I think a lot of marketers are kind of confronted with, they have a piece of data that concerns their activity. Someone else over there says, that data is a bit questionable, or it doesn't really tell us the answer, and then the poor marketer is left, I don't know what, feeling insecure over where to take this. So I wanted to shine a bit of a light in this video on some of the sources of this uncertainty, and we'll go through some of them and just move through the gears. So sources of uncertainty, how can you think about it, what can you do about it, and so on. So why don't you start us off? What was behind your idea there of all marketing data are estimates?
Well, I think that we marketers make the mistake often of basing decisions or deciding how to run campaigns on metrics where we're not entirely clear on how they're measured. So I've had conversations with advertisers, big advertisers that were, for example, really worried about the unique reach of campaigns. So that was their whole motivation of setting up campaigns, was to drive unique reach. And that is a metric that we use a lot: unique reach, unique users. But often we don't spend enough time educating, how are these unique users calculated. The reality is that you're hardly ever going to get the real accurate number of users that have seen your ad or have used your product, even because in a lot of situations, there's multiple devices, there's multiple browsers, there's even multiple accounts. So that was one example that I've seen a lot of advertisers unique reach. But then you have that problem across almost all marketing metrics. Something like conversions is also the case. Maybe you have your database where you have an overview of how many sales have happened, and that is a number that you can trust. But the conversions that you're seeing being attributed to a certain campaign, it's not that they're wrong, it's just that marketers are often not aware of how these numbers are calculated.
So take us through one that's like a common one. Take us through something like on Meta or something that digital marketers will be like addicted to. So this will be a real big source. What's kind of wrong on a platform like this?
Yeah, so let's say that you run your campaign with the goal of, driving signups, and you're tracking, first of all, what that sign up conversion number is going to show on your campaign is going to be impacted by how are you finding this event, and then what metadata are you sending to Meta that they're able to attribute it. So in a lot of cases, you have something like, the conversion is not attributed in the first place. If it's a client-side event, there is, let's say, a device change, and then Meta is not able to make that connection and attribute the campaign. And sometimes, even it was able to attribute, perhaps the campaign wasn't responsible for bringing that user in the first place, right? So what the attribution is measuring, let's say if you have client side, if someone has clicked on an ad, then they have gone to purchase a product. There is no causation built in, really. There's only that these two things have happened. If they were caused by clicking the ad, that's a question that I cannot answer, neither can Meta. They just know those two actions have occurred.
And on the comment there of a broken journey, so a device change or something like this, like we didn't plan for this question, but I'd love to know your answer. How do you approach these like unattributed buckets of sales and things that companies receive? I've been a bit out of this space for a long time, but there were always these like methods as to kind of try and reapply these back to channels and activities. What's your thinking on this?
Oh, John, I think this
Another
could
video.
easily take like the full hour, I
Yeah.
think this is a good time to plug the class that I have,
Yeah.
which is the Attribution Masterclass, where, I tackle some of these questions with Timo Chow. So we do like we have like a free cohort that is 1 hour, and we organize once a quarter, and then we also have like a longer paid version that people can watch on demand. But basically, when it comes to attribution and when it comes to clients, I always try to split between two routes. I think and I think we often make the mistake of mixing these two routes. But the routes are, you have your ad platform data, and that is, the conversions that you're tracking on Meta itself. And I always say, like, the goal for that is not to report or to make decisions. The goal for that is to give Meta as many signals as it can to optimize the campaigns. And then you have the other route is budget allocation. What data do I need to understand how all my channels are performing, and then based on that, understand where to allocate budget. So I think of these things separately. So in the Meta case, like in specific, I always try to attribute as much and even like over attribute, because what I'm trying to achieve there is to make sure that, the Meta algorithm knows who are the most valuable users and what kind of users they need to acquire. And then on the other side, that is on this decision making, then you're not looking at the Meta client side or Meta service side or any of that. You're probably looking at something that's more holistic, like surveys, MMM, a combination of different data sources, synthetic clicks. It becomes a bit more, with the goal of being more holistic. I try to explain that really shortly.
No, I love it. So I love the insight from this. So I think you're saying you could seek a perfect attribution, but for example, using the Meta case for a lot of brands, this is like turning on a tap for traffic. It's a very big source. So it's in your interests to just make sure they have as much visibility as possible as to the kind of best consumer profile or something, maybe at the expense of your attribution, because that's going to help you going forward for your growth. Like the more Meta know and the more those campaigns can be optimized. Oh yeah, super cool. We didn't plan for this insight, but thank you for that. And in the article I read, you kind of went on to talk about really just like understanding edge cases from different platforms and approaches is the kind of key to the puzzle, just to make yourself feel at ease with, how you spend,
Indeed,
what you
yes.
do. Could you shine a light on a couple for me? So like pick a couple of platforms and maybe just explain, this is the edge case over here, this is the edge case over there, just so people can follow what this means.
Yeah, of course. I've also written this other article that can also be like an interesting read, which is talking about discrepancies in specific. And that also covers a bit like these edge cases. I think what I always try to highlight too, is that they are not as edge as people would think they are. A lot of these things are happening quite often, and they should not be treated as like a 1 to 2% impact. So like I think an example that I see a lot, and we can stick with Meta as a platform because it's a very good example. because the Meta runs, if you serve ads on Meta, they're all being served on a mobile device. So first of all, when a lot of conversions for different types of businesses occur on desktop, that is already putting in a cross device change there, which impacts a lot of measurements. But even if there isn't a cross device journey, when you load an ad, or when you, and this is getting a bit specific, but when you click on an ad from Meta, let's say on your Instagram feed, that ad will open in an Instagram in-app browser. So, that means that visit is generating a unique ID, a unique cookie ID, a unique browser ID, all of that. So even if the user goes on to convert on a phone, but they just go on to open the link on Chrome or on Safari, like in most cases, that will break the attribution already. So click-based attribution for Meta, unless you're measuring like a conversion that is occurring fast within that session, within that click, is very, very wonky. So in a case where, I've worked with advertisers where they had only client-side tracking set up for Meta and only click, and then they go on to do like an MMM, and the MMM is telling them, oh, Meta has, a 4x ROI. And then the Meta reporting is saying, we got 3 conversions this month. They're like, like, what is this? Like, what do I trust? And then similarly, you also have this with other sources within Meta too, as to stay with the Meta example. Maybe then you have server-side tracking Meta, and you are able to circumvent all this breaking that happens cross-device, cross-browser sessions. But then you have Meta saying now there is hundreds of conversions, and Google Analytics saying, oh, actually, I only see 4. And this is not even an exaggeration. Sometimes it is like a discrepancy of like 95%. I've seen that happen with plenty of advertisers. So it's not an edge case, and it's important for marketers to understand like how they're measuring and how that impacts. So we are able to understand that these numbers are measuring different things, and then understand how to make decisions based on them.
On some other interview segments, I've been talking to people about what I've been calling the dark funnel. So someone has coached me on the dark funnel. So dark funnel, for everyone watching, is kind of like traffic that would come from kind of communities. AI search would be one. So you can kind of, something you can see as a referral source, but you don't really see the exposure data. So marketers want to know, we want to know the impressions and we want to know these things, but you don't really see this. I'm intrigued. Like, are you kind of seeing interesting referral sources for big brands? Do you have a perspective on any of this stuff whatsoever? Let me take you to AI search. Like, are you thinking about it?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I don't have a lot of experience with SEO, but I have seen, and I have also heard of brands seeing an uplift in AI clicks, and indeed, like just the reference showing that. I think it's going to be a bit more visual later, or a bit more tangible. My guess is that a lot of these AI tools are going to start developing advertisement products, and then maybe they're going to have an interest on exposing more of this information to advertisers, so they're able to measure results, improve campaigns, all of that. But indeed, right now I am I see it on LinkedIn too all the time. Some people are seeing a big uplift from AI. Like usually when you only have the click, it can be useful to look at the landing page, try to isolate the traffic via the landing page is usually what I recommend, because you can have an idea of what was the user searching for. And then if you have more landing pages that are more granular, that can help. But if you're just getting this reference on your homepage, then I don't know how to analyze or interpret that.
Well, yeah, it's a complex world for sure. So let's zoom this one in a little bit. So it's all hugely complicated. all marketing data is kind of estimates, and you've got to get a handle on it. What tips do you have for, like, a bit like you actually? Let's do this. You were dropped into marketing and
Hmm.
felt like you didn't have a background in it. What are your tips? Like, how can the modern marketer that's kind of you start your new job at a new company and you're confronted with all this stuff? What do you do next?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very broad question. And I guess it would depend on what kind of role do you have, what are your responsibilities. I would say, a good starting place is to get numbers and then to understand what those numbers are. So you're able to make a decision. That would usually be my place, my suggestion. I'm a big fan of growth models. That's always how like I started like roles within growth.
And if anyone has any doubts, Barbara, they can just join the Attribution Masterclass program, can't they? And figure this out with your help.
Yeah, they can. I don't think it will answer like what you need to do with your job, but we're able to at least help, marketers navigate what attribution methods should they use, what are the blind spots, how should they be thinking about attribution from a campaign perspective, and things like that.
Good. Well, look, Barbara, thanks for your insights today. We're just about to hit the 15 minutes or so. So, look, thank you for participating in this.
Mm.
Thank you for your support. I'm glad we were able to mention the program twice. I look forward to the affiliate income that's flying my way.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and come back soon, please. I'm interested in more insights from you.
Perfect. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you, Barbara.
John.